Login VSI Summit, also known as previously Login VSI Performance Summit. Are we not going to talk about performance today? Oh, yes, we are. We are going to talk about end user experience. And specifically of all the experiences we had with our customers and partners in the last year since our last summit, where a lot of our customers are taking end user experience very serious and strategically, to the fact of, hey, I not only want to know what the end user experience is going to be when I move my desktops to the cloud, but I want to predict the cost as well. So what's the cost attached to the user experience? And we were very happy to help them specifically with this use case. We're going to talk about a lot of stories from the field, not only from our customers who are taking us on a magnificent journey, but also with our partners and customers and experts. So we have fantastic speakers today. We start off with Mark Bowker with information from the market. And then before that, we have Mark and Blair talking about all the testing they are doing and have been doing with the vendors like Microsoft and Google, who are also very, very focused on the user experience, because that's going to be crucial in the next years to come. What are my users experiencing from the IT I provide to them? So with that being said, I want to hand it over to Mark and Blair. Oh, there's one very important message I want to tell you as well, an exciting announcement, which is today we closed a collaboration with Wavecrest Growth Partners. They're going to invest in our business to help us grow and scale and better service our customers and partners, because they, as we, also very much believe in strategically managing the user experience going forward. So we're all very excited. There's a lot of good stuff to come. And with that being said, I will hand it over to Mark and Blair. Thank you very much and enjoy yourself. Thank you.
Wow. Oh my gosh. I mean, just watching the intros and watching EJ and learning about this investment opportunity that we've been able to benefit from, it's just amazing. I've got chills up and down my arm, and just absolutely excited about this. So it's been a while since we've had this summit. I think April 2020, last year, quite some time ago. I remember I was stuck in Costa Rica at the time, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it just goes to show that a lot can happen in life, and a lot has happened. It's been a very exciting year for us here at Login VSI. So much has happened in this last year and a half, especially when it comes to our customers, our products, and all of that stuff. And, you know, I also want to say, you know, hats off to our marketing team, but hats off to you as the people that are joining us today. We've gotten over 1,000 registrations for this event. This only continues to grow, which really emphasizes the fact that end user compute performance, just all of this stuff is just super important. So with that, I'll introduce myself. I'm Blair Parkhill. I'm a product manager here at Login VSI, also a fanboy of our own product and so many of the EUC things that it goes along with. I'm speaking to you from Colorado, Woodland Park, Colorado, so up in the mountains. It's just about to snow here, and I'll let Mark introduce himself.
Yeah, so hopefully audio checks out okay, and we can hear each other and we can talk to each other in this strange way. It's interesting, right? It's so exciting. The investor EJ just opening the show 1.5 years ago, 1 year, 5 months ago. We did the last one. We just registered, I believe, more than 1,000 participants. We just jumped over that before the show. So it's going to be really exciting, all of the things that we have for you. Now, we're a little bit nervous, so all of the technology here is, we put it together and we've tested it, but obviously we're excited and a little bit scared to see if everything will work with these kinds of numbers. But again, it's going to be so much fun, and it's not just going to be us that you will hear talking today. We have our friends from all over the world joining. We have Peter from Seattle. We have Brian from the Seattle area. Christian, who just moved to the Seattle area, who will be joining us, I believe, from the Redmond campus. Mr. Kent, we have Richard Scannell from Boston. We have Pepperim, we just had EJ on. We have Hilko and Mr. Bowker. They will all do presentations around performance and user experience, and we hope that we have an exciting program for you. we definitely made a big upgrade when it comes to technology. Like Blair said, last year he was in the jungle in between the monkeys, and I was in my
That's
garage
right.
burning kerosene to stay warm. It was ridiculously cold. We all put it together, and we couldn't travel due to COVID. This time it looks a bit better in the background, but it's still the same atmosphere. We're just going to have a lot of fun the upcoming hours with you guys. And really, Blair,
Yeah, anything can happen at this event, can it? I mean, yeah, monkeys in the background last time. I think what was really fun was we knew Jack Madden was a musician, and we convinced him to pull out his trombone and play a little tune for us. I mean, who would have thought that that would have happened, right? But our community is all about understanding each other and communicating and really kind of being a little EUC family. And I really love that about everything that we do.
and with that, we've also changed a lot of as a company. EJ already alluded to it a little bit, but we started in 2008 really solving our own problem. Server-based computing, how many users can I get on this environment? When does it break? And little did we know and expect that in 2021 we would still be standing here with 1,000 people watching us from all over the world. It's strange, but funny enough, how the market has changed now with VDI has happened, graphics, GPU, storage, all these problems have been solved. Now Windows 10 multi-user has been released. So we're back at square one. We're doing server-based computing again. We've gone full circle. What is interesting though is that our product is not just a load testing anymore. So a lot of people still know us today as the load testing guys. There's nothing wrong with that. We still have a lot of fun load testing and breaking systems almost on the daily, but we do a lot more. So we'll tell you a little bit today about application compatibility testing, load testing, as well as continuously testing your production environment, helping to make sure that your end user experience is continuously at a level where you want to have it. As this session was titled, The Chocolate Factory, of course, we've put a slide with a chocolate factory in here. And there's a funny story to go with this picture. Supposedly, there's a chocolate manufacturer in Amsterdam that wants to build the factory like this. So I was Googling chocolate factory. This came up when I was preparing for this session. So there's actually a chocolate brand that wants to build it with a roller coaster and everything. So we'll see if that happens. But what we want to explain to you today is the concept of a testing factory. How can you make sure that everything you do in your environment from A to Z, whether it's in pre-production or production, when you go live, it never interferes with what real users or real persons or our colleagues are experiencing, and you never miss a dime of income anymore. So not the chocolate factory, but the testing factory. And the reality is, if you do not work on this, if you do all of these changes and all the stuff you need to do in a day-to-day to just keep up in your environment, there's not going to be enough Oompa Loompas in the world to make sure that you get your job done. So we need to change as an industry.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt that things are just changing, and the big thing that happened was all of this stuff is changing. It was planned to be changed, and then we have something like the pandemic that's caused us to completely shift the way that we were doing digital workspaces and digital compute, just all of this stuff to more of a work from home type of function, right? I mean, we're all kind of probably in our homes now. You get the good fortune of being in the office, but I mean, you throw that on top of all of the other changes that we already have, and how are you going to stay on top of that, right? And so, a good point with the factory. I think the thing that we have to realize is with all of these changes that just keep stacking up, and it's getting to the point where it's overwhelming, we have to change how we kind of go about vetting these solutions and testing these solutions ahead of time, right? And that's what's caused us to take more of a focus on what we call shift left testing. And with the concept of shift left testing, it's all about doing as much as you can before you get to the production environment. So in today's traditional quality change model, you could see the pre-production and production nature. And when you look at the attention to quality, usually after we push something to production is when we try and refine it, shape it, make it faster. We get some feedback about how that really behaves in the end user compute environment. but you're looking at all of these different kind of tests that are happening way too late in that model, like testing your applications, whether that's user acceptance testing or just general smoke testing, load testing, which we're definitely known for, and as Mark had mentioned, something that we've not only stuck to, but we're adding so much more to that. And then continuous testing, right? That's something that that should be on our minds today, right? Where you never stop, right? And the more that you kind of refine towards that production side of the house, the more costly it's going to be to fix anything or enhance anything that might be changing. So this concept of shift left testing is about moving much of that to the pre-production side, so that when you release and when you constantly release, you can be very confident about the types of things that are changing, and you're kind of on top of those, and you're optimizing, enhancing as you're kind of getting to that production model. So you look at it like you have a digital workspace, you have applications on those. Those are always going to change, and you can do things like application test so that you're very confident about those applications in the digital workspaces that you support. And load testing really helps from a cost and efficiency perspective, right? We want to make sure that we can fit the number of users on a particular type of computer or VM or instance to make sure that they always get a good user experience. But with all of the changes we have, that type of capacity can change. How much does it change by? When does it change? All the reason more to do load testing, right? So as you shift more of this to the left, you have more quality before you're pushing this to production. And then of course, with a continuous test, you can have these types of tests that are going on continuously, 24/7 by 365, making sure and ensuring that that end user experience is high quality. And by having virtual users do this test and making this part of your continuous test process, that feedback's instantaneous, and you can push that all the way back into your development model.
Absolutely, and this is something that we've not invented, right? The model is out there and it's already being successfully applied by software delivery companies. So companies that make software, implement websites that we maybe visit every day, Facebook, Amazon, they're crunching these changes, right? They're doing changes every 11, every 12 seconds, and they hardly ever go down. Reason why? They do a lot of testing upfront. So the model exists, it's proven, the theory is out there. So how can we take this model and apply it to end user computing? How can we use it in our day-to-day lives to make ourselves and our jobs more successful? And again, of course, the end users happier. Because if you do not do this, right, if you're just stuck to load testing and forget about all of the other things that we just talked about, this is going to be you in a couple of years, right? This is Lucy and the Chocolate Factory. I think everybody growing up has seen this video and realize now that this is not something you can keep up with anymore. The chocolates are coming in faster and faster. The changes are happening. Every software company is updating all the time. And let's not forget, in the cloud, they're just updating stuff whenever they feel like it, right? It's just going to happen. It's inevitable, and you don't really have that control anymore. So how do you keep your tabs on that, making sure that from a performance point, it keeps on working, but also from an availability? And how early on in the process can we do this to prevent that we have to chuck these chocolates and changes everywhere just before we head home every day?
Yeah,
I'm
we
glad
all
so
know
much
what
is happening, right?
happens. Yeah, we all know what happens when too much chocolate comes out, right? It's either going to fall on the floor or we're going to have to eat it all. Either way, we're not going to be feeling too good after that. But a lot is happening, as I had mentioned. Just a few, samples. Just operating systems alone in the last year and a half have become quite pervasive. First, you look at Windows 10 Enterprise Multi-Session in Azure Virtual Desktop. I've been doing a lot of work around that, but I mean, there's changes coming to that all the time. Windows 11 has hit them, is just about to hit the market. They already have, images out there. We're playing with that, testing that. The big question is, how different is it going to be than Windows 10 from a performance and user experience perspective? And obviously, we've had recent announcements about Windows 365, right? So you have all these new environments. How is this going to, jive with your end user compute experience? To be determined, right, Mark?
Absolutely. And stick around for the session that we're doing later around Windows 11. So we do have our first initial results on not just the load testing results of Windows 11, but we're also going to show you a new way of quantifying user experience. I'm so excited about it. I just really want to go to those slides right now, but there is some stuff in between that's also very interesting. Don't get me wrong, but I'm a tech guy at heart, so I want to skip right to the stuff that we've been working on for so long. And let's not forget, these end user computing systems are under a lot of stress. And most recently, what we're seeing is a lot of impact from collaboration tools. Microsoft Teams, Zoom. We're running this as a Zoom meeting in the back end, by the way, while you might be watching it via a website. There is a lot of stress on these centralized systems, right? And how many users does it break? And this is a question that with every update that these guys do, you need to answer again. Because first of all, you're on Teams, then, hey, maybe we move to Zoom, then we want to go to Slack. They invent a different remoting protocol. So this is an ever-growing thing where you have to, keep the tabs on performance all the time.
Yep. Yeah. And speaking of performance, I remember the days when disk was the slow component in end user compute solutions, right? And we've thrown a lot of memory systems at that, and that bottleneck has gone away. And we're back to looking at CPU as the bottleneck. But Intel and AMD have done a ton of work to really improve performance on any solution, really. But the really cool thing that we saw this year was we had the CEO, Lisa from AMD, who they've been working with us as well as many other vendors to highlight the improvements in performance that their new processor platforms are bringing to the market. And it's astonishing to see because just like in past solutions with storage, these bottlenecks are no longer going to be there, and it's just going to be some new bottleneck. And at the rate that the processor innovation is going, we're seeing capacities double, as AMD had mentioned during one of their keynotes on the announcement of the EPYC 2 set. So it's just amazing to see how important end user compute is when it comes to these evolutions in processor technology.
Yeah, and again, this was also a very proud moment for ourselves. We learned about this announcement that we were going to be featured just 1 or 2 days before it actually hit the streets. But as a small company working globally, being featured in a global CPU lounge by the CEO of AMD is just, the mind boggles. It's the coolest moment. It's my highlight for the past year, definitely. And that's also, again, just a little bit of bragging why we put this in here today, because we just can't get enough of it. What people unfortunately also cannot get enough of at the moment is, well, I think they can get enough of it, but there seems to be an endless fountain of 0 days. And this is just happening. The most recent big one, of course, with all the printer nightmare problems that have hit the streets. You might have noticed it, and we actually got a lot of phone calls around this. Now, you might argue, Mark, what's the point of application compatibility testing if I disable my print spooler? Because I already know the effect. My printers will not work anymore. I cannot print until the mitigation is applied. And yes, of course, this is true. But there are also many unexpected things with these 0 days. And the problem is you typically find out too late after you've already patched the 0 day, because the security guy, he's standing next to you, breathing down your neck, make sure you patch this today. And it's just one of those things that if you knew before that would be a good or a bad idea, it would help your decision a lot. But typically, you don't have the time unless there's a way to automatically test this, right? So 2 funny things that happen with this, totally unexpected. But if you disable your print spooler, you cannot install Citrix anymore. So that was an unexpected thing. If you test that, you would have known. And secondly, every major shipping company or pharmacy uses these Zebra printers, and the mitigations really broke a lot of those. So that had a really big impact on business and how they were operating. And these guys are really preparing now to invest a lot into testing. Later today, also, by the way, we'll show you the latest editions. I talked about it a little bit on the EUX score, because we're moving away from the load testing. We're slowly becoming this bigger and bigger product that's not just about infrastructure testing anymore, but it's about application compatibility, load test, and also being able to test in production. So for those of you who haven't seen it, stick around definitely to see Login Enterprise. And if you're a hands-on guy or girl, go to our website now, and you can definitely already grab a trial while we're talking.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just about kind of getting away from an old use case and an older product. It's about offering a lot more to the industry, but in a way that we didn't have before. VDI is already complex, end user compute's already complex. Our product doesn't need to be complex, right? So one of the huge developments moving away from Login BSI to our new Login Enterprise platform is that we want to make it easy for you to use, right? And that's a huge part of our kind of belief system here at Login BSI.
Absolutely. And with that, I think we've filled our time slot, Blair. In a couple of minutes, we will see our own Chief Technology Oompa Loompa at Login CSI, who will talk about the most interesting things. He will just allude on the story that we've set up for you now. The role of end-user computing, end-user experience, I'm sorry, in digital transformation. But first, a small sponsor break so you can get a fresh drink and stick with us. See you in a few minutes.